Well, timing worked out nice today. We've had the opportunity to work with Tina in her shop a lot of times. She is the communications guru. We get to partner with her doing some of the more niche marketing support. And my partner Rugi and I, we've gone through 10 ICOs from start to finish, and what we're going to explore today is not so much the communication side, but the overall side of an ICO. What's making them successful and not successful. Rugi's been a serial entrepreneur. He's worked in multiple industries, and he's the guy who's responsible for bringing influencer marketing to the YouTube space for crypto. First guy to do it on the Pillar project. We had a huge success, and that kind of spawned the work we're doing now with the CoinLocker group. So, like I said, today we're going to be going over what makes a good raise. You got it. Let me stand over here. So we're going to go over what has made a successful raise, kind of the fundamental things that people have in place, and also the incidental things, the things that people breeze by, overlook, that can crush your chances of bringing in good money. So this is what we're all after with an ICO, stacks on stacks of ETH. But we've also seen a lot of great ideas, great projects, good teams, great people fail miserably. We don't want you to be one of them, so we're going to share some of our secrets. The first thing, and this is something that Tina touched on, was having an existing product.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of, like last year with the Pillar project, 2017, everyone knows was a different time where we just had an idea and a dream, and then people got behind it and believed in us. But if we had tried to do the same thing, the same approach, we would have got no money. Because the standard's been raised. People want to see, an existing product. That's almost one of the first things you look at. Do they have a product? Yes, no, just throw it away. So having something that people can feel and touch, even if it's not totally ready, like a beta or something, makes a huge difference. Gives people credibility that, you might actually do what you say you're going to do. So that's the number one thing, as Tina had mentioned, that you really need to have, something for the people.
And the second thing is, put this up as a joke, but you see all these ICOs out there trying to raise $100 million to disrupt the travel industry. Mm-hmm. Having realistic expectations about the amount you're going to raise and having that be aligned with the end result. Do you really need $50 million to launch your startup? No, you should probably be able to be cash flow positive with 20 million, and if not, maybe you don't deserve my money as an investor.
And to build on that, we see a lot of guys that come say, hey, we want to raise $200 million, and they'll be like, what's your budget? They'd be like, $100,000. It's just like, that's not realistic anymore to think that you can, make 1,000x or 500x on your investment. Maybe you can, like Pillar is like a unicorn, and some people do it, but people need to set realistic expectations. And also, when you have those crazy numbers, it makes you look not serious. It just, why? Why do you need the money? And then oftentimes you see they don't have a defined roadmap. They're just like, we need $200 million, and they have a couple things on a checklist, and you're like, what are you going to do with the money? They don't know. They just want $200 million. So that takes, really kind of puts you in a bucket of when people are making binary decisions, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That's one that's a big one, that's a no, especially if there's no really defined reason that you need the money. And most companies don't need $100 million to do anything, at least to start. So it just makes you look less credible, greedy, and potentially as a scammer if you ask for too much money.
So whatever your soft and hard caps are, make sure it's reasonable, make sure it's aligned with your 5-10-year roadmap.
But despite that, the average ICO size is rising, though.
The average ICO things are rising. We'll get to that too. The nature of the industry is kind of shift. So if you're going to institutional investors, then you can do that. Some of these, and the averages are a little skewed too. When you have Telegram that raises, $2 billion, and you have EOS that raises $4 billion. If you average it out, maybe the numbers don't look as good depending on how you say the math. But they're the ones that the guys who have the serious product and they have the serious marketing and know how to and have closers who can get real big money. Then it's a different story. So it depends on what you're trying to do. But in general, if you're trying to go to the people, to get support, then it looks bad. But if you have, someone who's capable of going to wine and cheese parties and raising $5 million off a handshake, then go at it.
But for your project to be successful in the long term, you need a community. And that's what's so powerful about this model. That's what's so powerful about the pillar anecdote, is there was 10,000 individual contributors instead of a Telegram where I bet that it's not more than 2,000.
No, it's
even
about
though they've
300, I think.
300?
Yeah.
There you go. That's not much of a community. That's a hell of a lot of money. The next part is a team that with a track record in the industry, but also a team that's connected and communicating. During the ICO, like Tina mentioned, things go crazy. It's wild. You're working all hours. You've got some people on the dev and security side doing their thing. You've got the marketers doing their thing. You've got the leader out on either the road show doing interviews. And just having that weekly time to touch base, all hands on deck. Okay, what are you guys doing? Where are you struggling? To make sure that nothing falls through the gaps.
And on that too, the team we've seen, that's a major falling point. We've seen some teams that, you think are a real team, but it ends up being a team of one, or like there's a CEO or one person with a dream, and they end up trying to do everything, and it just always is a disaster because there's too much stuff, for like a couple guys, to do. Unless you have a bigger team or you work with some, contractors. And then also the leadership matters because in every single ICO, you're going to have problems. Like Tina mentioned, there's always going to be a crisis. Usually there's a crisis every day. And if you don't have steady leadership, then everyone, what happens is the attitude of the team reflects the leader. So if a leader's panicking, then everyone's going to panic, and it's going to be disaster, and then the whole thing falls apart. We've seen people quit, because at the first sign of problems, ETH goes down 50% or whatever, then they're start, getting nervous, then they get the team nervous, then everything falls down from there. So having an actual team where people have defined roles, not only helps for the marketing part, but otherwise, you're not going to be able to get it done, without leadership and strong people that know their roles. So that's, in the first step, when you're, even before you get to any marketing phase, you need to take the measure of people because, and understand that you have solid people. Otherwise, it's gonna result in failure at some point.
And I love this quote. I had to put it up here. Science or technology, I think you could interchange those words, never solves a problem without creating 10 more. So this is about the product. Is the product you're putting forward, is it about optimization or disruption? I think a lot of the projects that we're seeing in the blockchain space, they're not really solving a major problem. They're making something easier, or that's the intention. There's got to be some sort of project or product market fit, and it cracks me up there's all these porn coins and stuff. Is anyone having a problem accessing porn on the internet right now? That's not solving any problem, and it's probably... These are probably creating more problems than they're solving because they're creating a new ecosystem that's not needed, really. And I use that example because, just to get a laugh, but there's so many other projects out there that I know that you can say, that doesn't really solve a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get people coming for all types of things, and then also you got to look at the market. Almost every project we've seen that's about art or about we call it arts and crafts. These things that are nice things that are cool, but there's no product fit for that. People want to see something where there's a reason for the investor to hold a token. They're looking more at protocols and things like that. So you have to look because you can have the best marketing, spend all the money. But at the end of the day, the market decides. So you have to choose something that there's people that actually, that there's a reason for your product to exist and something that people are interested in and that there's something in it for the people and the community or something. Because and I would even say that to most people, if they just did that, then they would quit and not do an ICO in the first place and save the time. Because if you can't get to that hurdle, actual reason and a product fit, then you should just do something else or get a better idea.
And what's interesting about this space is when we talk about the market is not the entire market of the industry for which your product is intended. It's only the folks who are interested in crypto within that, or not even vertical related, but just interested in crypto and see your project as an interesting investment opportunity. So the market is very skewed right now to just pretty technically focused people who are just into crypto. We have tried on multiple projects to step outside of the crypto sphere and get new investors in, but it's like pulling teeth because the complexities of navigating, a MyEther wallet, getting crypto. We've all found it pretty easy, but we're the few. So everything that we've been talking about so far is what is fundamental, what you need to have a successful ICO, and where we're going next is kind of the minutia, the things that people often overlook that inhibits their ability to raise capital throughout the ICO. So the first one is the KYC process. It needs to be simple, smooth, and responsive.
And to go on that, a lot of times we see projects that, they set these deadlines or goals to start a project, that are somewhat arbitrary because say, oh, we have to get it by this date, and then they kind of rush through things and don't test things correctly. Like Tina said, you like a lot of these things you want to have in advance, like preferably weeks in advance, retest it, test it, because like in this internet age, people don't have time, to waste. So like if there's one extra step, that extra step, you could lose 25, 30% of the people in your funnel. If there's, lags in like response times, every little thing, like you could see exponentially, like make less people go through. So especially in this age, and people hate KYC to begin with, so they're gonna have no patience for anything that goes wrong. So that's something where you could do everything else right, but if you get the KYC wrong, you could lose all the money and not make anything and waste your whole time.
I think the best KYC that I've seen was the Debitum ICO. It was one page. Me as an American investor was able to get through it, and it happened immediately. The next is related to KYC, but all other aspects of the ICO as well, having 24/7 support.
And I would like to give Tina and Famous Publicity a shout out on this. Like we've been part of a lot of ICOs, and the communications really matters because it's one thing to get people to your site or get people to your Telegram, but you need them to stay, you need them to be engaged, and you need to have people that really are on the ball. And there's a lot of these companies that'll charge you a whole bunch of money, and they'll either have bots or people that don't understand the product, don't speak English well, that are trying to communicate with people. And like what I've seen is that the Telegram is really kind of a real big measure of the project, and you can kind of see how much traction you're getting by how many people join, how many people stay, how many people talk. And Tina's team has been the best I've seen at really communicating and keeping the track. They're ready, they respond. Questions, because one little question, if it doesn't go unanswered, people be like, why didn't you answer my question? What's the problem? Is there something wrong? And then it can spiral out of control with bad communication. And then that kind of defeats the purpose, because in this day and age in marketing for ICOs, you can't expect that someone's going to look at one ad and buy or watch one video and buy. People need 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 touch points. And so in having, the CEO of the project actually jump in on the Telegram channel means a lot, because then they can kind of connect with how they're communicating. So you really want to have, to me, I think that's one of the most important things is, once you attract the people, you got to make them stay, you got to make them engaged. So you need to have a really top flight team. So anyone who's doing an ICO, they should talk to Tina and get their team on the Telegram.
And Rugi mentioned engaged leadership on Telegram. We're going to expand that. Engaged leadership across the board with the community. We want to see, or the community of investors wants to see the leaders. People invest in people, not necessarily projects. Mm-hmm. So what we want to do is, all of our clients, we take them on a roadshow through the influencer ecosystem and trying to get them as much accessibility and exposure to the community of investors. And this has backfired on us before with non-confident leaders who can't properly articulate their vision. So confident, engaged, and accessible leadership.
And on that note, we look at, me and Daniel both come from a political organizing background, and so kind of look at the ICOs in that lens where, the project itself is like the party, and, the CEO or the front man is like the guy, the candidate. So even if you have a great platform, but if you have a terrible candidate, then you're going to lose. You know, and this going out and watching all these videos is like campaign stops. You stop at one small city, big city, large city, but you want to talk to everyone. So in our strategy, we try to get, you know, maybe 100 videos or more from all the different channels and our thing is like global. We try to have videos with people from different countries, and we want to make it so it's like a roadshow. So it's like an internet thing where everyone can see that there's support. So when you type in the ICO name on YouTube, you see 30, 40, 50 videos, and then it creates the sentiment that, you know, that there's support behind it. And like you said, too, you need someone that's confident, that can speak English well, you know, and also, you know, like, because people judge the project by the man. People aren't buying the ICO, they're buying you. So people need to have confidence in you that you can deliver, and so that brings a lot to it. And sometimes it's good, too, if you have a team, and it helps to have a guy that can answer technical questions if you can't. You know, because it's like it looks better sometimes to have a team. So like it's really important for the public relations and the leaders. You need to have the leaders have time. We've had some ICOs where they're too busy or they say it's not a priority. Then that's bad, because to me, like the CEO or the head person of the ICO needs to be available every day, you know, 24 hours a day, and you know you don't sleep till it's done.
And finally, connecting marketing with return on investment for your marketing spend. So many ICOs are throwing money. There's so many ranking sites, and there's so many sites where you can put up your banner ads, CoinMarketCap. Every time you go on there, it's flooded with ads. Who here has clicked on one of those ads? Okay, so we've got one. So CoinMarketCap is making money off other things besides just ICOs. But, yes, speak to this.
Yeah, I guess you need to, like, you know, it's better now to have a realistic expectation on marketing spend, and you want to tie it to some metrics. But some of the things with marketing, it's somewhat of an art than a science. So it's very difficult to tell, you know, exactly who bought from where, because there's multiple touch points, but they all need to be together. But like, you need to have at least some metrics, you know, like website hits, you know, like how long are they staying on your site, how far are they getting into your funnel, and also like how big is your Telegram group growing, is it active, is it engaged, and those things help a lot. But sometimes, you know, the marketing can only do so much, but you have to have some metrics to evaluate it.
And I think what I really appreciate about the work that Tina does and what drives our strategy is investing in the community and the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So investing in the influencers, mm-hmm. investing in the blog sites and the people who are writing really good content, mm-hmm. spending money there and not spending money on Facebook ads, banner ads, and things of this sort.
And also another thing, like a lot of people spend a lot of money on advisors, you know, people that say, hey, give me 150 grand and I'll help you. And then there's no metrics on that too. So like everything, even if someone has a big name in this space, you know, if he doesn't do anything for you, what's the point? You know, so I would advise anyone that's, you know, and because the people are going to come to you all the time because it's like a big honey pot and people see honey and they'll just say, I can do this, I can do that. So anybody you deal with, you bring on, have some metrics of what success looks like.
So that about wraps it up.